Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What is up, everybody? Happy October to you all, and welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily, counting down the days till the Winnipeg Jets home opener next Thursday at Canada Life Centre and the beginning of the National Hockey League season. Lots of news around the league, some big contracts signed. We'll dive into that, the fallout from it, and more. John Matisz of The Score will join us for the top stories in and around the National Hockey League. Of course, the fallout from the Kaprizov extension yesterday, which was an absolute jaw-dropper. And we'll also focus in on the Winnipeg Jets, who were in Minnesota last night. And, listen, it's a preseason game. Hellebuck played. The score was 3-2. The news, though, coming out of the game was the fact that both Jonathan Toews and Vladimir Namestnikov did not finish the game. So we'll hear what Scott O'Neill had to say post-game and talk about that. And, of course, look ahead to next week and the start of the season with our good friend Murat of The Athletic. A little later on, Thomas Tipple from Fantasy Points will come on for some NFL chat and some fantasy football advice. And we'll also get in to the Major League Baseball playoffs. I got to tell you, with yesterday being an off day, thanks to everyone that checked out both this new edition of CFL 110, which is live up on the channel, as well as the Analytics Primer. Great job to Connor and Liz, who put that together. For those of you that hear many of the fancy stats out there that just want to get a better background on all of it, definitely head over to the Winnipeg Sports Talk YouTube channel and check that out at your leisure. They did a great job on that, and I've already got some really good feedback on it. So that is all up there. I did spend a lot of time yesterday watching baseball. Some just amazing games yesterday to start off the wild card round. Epic performances by two of the best pitchers in the game. Skubal with the Tigers, 14 strikeouts in a win. Garrett Crochet, 11 strikeouts in the win over the Yankees for the Boston Red Sox. And it is sort of nuts. While the Jays do a scrimmage today, getting ready for the weekend, the New York Yankees could be out of the playoffs by late dinner time today. So we'll dive into what's happening in and around it. For those of you that are with us live right now, the Guardians have an early 1-0 lead in the fourth over the Detroit Tigers as they try to force a third and deciding game tomorrow. So welcome to everybody in chat. I hope you all had a nice day away yesterday. And we'll dive into that. We'll have some fan feedback from fans first a little bit later on. Plenty of ways we could go for the why not question of the day today. And we'll also be following this Canadian Football League. Now, listen, the Bombers are on the bye this week, but today is the CFL trade deadline. And we all remember in 2019, the Bombers pulled a bit of a rabbit out of their hat at the very last minute, acquiring Zach Collaros. I did do some digging. I think it's going to probably be quiet on the Bomber front today, but that deadline is 2:59 p.m. our time. So if anything breaks over the course of the show, we'll be sure to let you know right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Do want to thank the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet.com. Of course, the Winnipeg Jets. And don't forget, gang, as we get closer to the game, tickets are going fast for the home opener. We still have limited tickets available with us for the Winnipeg Sports Talk group up in Section 316. So if you don't have your seats already for next Thursday's home opener against the Dallas Stars, do not wait. Go online, winnipegjets.com/WST. It'll take you right to the Winnipeg Sports Talk Games of the Month and grab your seats for the home opener before they are gone. And we'll look forward to seeing all of you there to hopefully kick off another great season of Jets hockey. Not sure we'll be able to go 6-0 like we did last year, but it sure would be nice to start off the season 1-0 in Section 316 for the home opener next week. Again, winnipegjets.com/WST. HSC Millionaire Lottery, Rollies Transfer, St. Vital Dental Center, Princess Auto, Manitoba Battery, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug, and a big welcome to our friends and newest sponsor on board with WST, the gang out at Chud's Power Sports. Great to have Dermot, Mike and the entire team up in Gimli on board with us will tell you about their incredible operation a little bit later on. And a new feature on the program twice weekly and on WST Sunday Live will be the Chuds Power Sports Power Poll, where we'll be ranking NHL teams, NFL teams, and other fun topics, which will certainly provide plenty of fodder for all of you in the chat. So thanks again and welcome aboard to our friends at Chuds Power Sports. You can check them out at chudspowersports.com. We'll fill you in a little bit more on what they've got going on a little later on today in the show. Remis, what's going on? How are you?
Hey, good to be here. I'm getting ready for the start of the regular season. I've had enough of firing up WinnipegJets.com live streams with, using the video of the Jumbotron in Minnesota. I get it. They don't want to broadcast the preseason games, but I want to put on regular games, regular players. Crossing our fingers here that the Jets can stay healthy as the injuries have cropped up here in the preseason, but I'm ready for the hockey. Baseball postseason underway. Awesome. Every pitch. NFL, week 5 kicking off tomorrow. The Bombers are off this week, but we will see about this trade deadline. I'm hoping they do something, but I'm feeling good. It's a long way of saying I'm good here. A lot going on. There's too much.
No. Listen, we're going to really be hockey heavy today on the program. So just while we're mentioning, the CFL trade deadline, haven't seen anything so far today. I see Reg Dunlop saying, is it crumb time? I mean, I certainly would not be opposed to getting another quarterback in here. I mean, it doesn't seem like they've got a lot of confidence in Terry Wilson. And I think we've seen that despite finding a way to win 3 of the 4 starts of Chris Streveler this year, I have a hard time imagining a Chris Streveler-led offense winning a Grey Cup. Listen, the plan is to keep Zach running and upright. But as we've seen before, I mean, the team did make that very fateful move at the 2019 trade deadline that in a lot of ways changed the entire direction of the Blue Bomber franchise and CFL history. As I said, I don't expect the Bombers to do anything today, but we will stay on top of it over the course of the program today and let you know what it is. But just before we kind of dive into last night's game and the hockey, did any of you guys see the tweet from the CFL yesterday with their analytic numbers cranking out chances to win the Grey Cup? Now, just to put it into perspective, right now, if you go over to Coolbet and you pull up the CFL and look at the odds to win the Grey Cup, the Ticats are the favorite at plus 250. The Riders are right behind them at plus 275, and that makes sense. They both have inside track on home field in the East or West final and the bye. And that's a much, much easier path. I mean, only having to win the one game if they can hold on. Alouettes at plus 350. Stamps plus 450. BC plus 550. And the Bombers are 12-1. Remis, fire this up. And again, take this for what it's worth. It's definitely a fun thing of conversation. This from the league yesterday. Odds to win the 112th Grey Cup. Number 1 in the league, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at 29.49%. Almost 7 points higher than the BC Lions at 22. Saskatchewan just right behind them at 22 as well, 21.91. And then the Hamilton Tiger Cats at 12.48. It's very clear that based on these numbers where the strength of the league is, and that is in the West. And Remo, as I felt that we were getting a return to form of the Bombers and an emphatic statement on Saturday, I couldn't help but chuckle at that in that there's a lot of underlying things around this team that are very, very positive right now. And apparently the people that have been paying attention the most to it have been the computers who cranked out now that the Bombers are the most likely team to win the Grey Cup.
Yeah, this is in an article on the CFL.ca website with what's sponsored by KPMG, and I don't think KPMG would lend their name or lend their sponsorship to something that had faulty math. So very interesting. And look, we saw the Bombers, the way they played against Hamilton when they have Zach at quarterback. The offense can actually move the ball down the field. The defense looks really improved since the Labor Day Classic. They've been awesome. DeMario Houston, you saw what a great ad he's been and how they all were able to shut down Kenny Lawler. The one concern about the Bombers is, we've seen Zach Collaros leave multiple games this season with injury. Will he be able to finish the season? And you feel like every time he gets hit, you're worried, is this going to be the one that knocks him out? Which is why today on the trade deadline day, you'd like to see them get some insurance for him. We've seen, we saw Nick Arbuckle as the backup lead the Argos to win the Grey Cup last year. Like, I'm in pain saying that, but you gotta, you can do it in the CFL with a backup. There's some available. Dustin Crum is the one that sticks out on an Ottawa team that's not going to make the playoffs, and we've seen what he can do. And if you want a rushing QB, like, that would be a great fit as the number 2. So Stravler, great guy, great leader, but as far as, quarterbacking ability as the number 1 guy, I don't think he's going to lead you to a Grey Cup. And they have an opportunity here with this defense, the way it's playing, with it being at home, the pressure's on. I would hope they're exploring some kind of insurance policy. Zach, he hasn't finished a lot of games this year, but he has looked very good when 100%.
I'm trying to think of the last time he looked as good as he did on Saturday. I mean, comes off the mat after missing a couple games and a very scary exit from his last game and looked as good as new yesterday or on Saturday in that 40-3 beatdown of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. So I knew Bomber fans would enjoy that. And as I mentioned before, to me, if you want to truly handicap now, the Bombers the favorite to win the Grey Cup, I'll grant you no. But to me, they're right there with a bunch of those other teams. I mean, it really isn't how you start, it's how you finish. And let's see a big finish from the Bombers in these final 3 games, and then they can be the boogeyman to the rest of the Western Division as they've been for the last 5 seasons come playoff time. But last night, as I said, we'll talk contracts and whatnot with John Matisz coming up in a few minutes. Remis, no one really cares about the whether the team won or lost yesterday. It's more about getting through these games unscathed. And unfortunately for the Bombers, the Jets, I should say, they were unable to do that. Jonathan Toews had 10 minutes of ice time and left the game in the second period, did not return. We'll hear from Coach Arneal, but he said that he tweaked something and they'll check him out when they get back. Now, unfortunately, and this is going to lead to much anxiety amongst people that are listening to this program, this is an off date today. So while I'm certain that he'll be at the facility getting medical treatment, no updates today. So we will have to wait and see until tomorrow on what Coach Scott Arneal says on how Jonathan Toews is. I mean, you're just hoping that it's not anything serious or significant that would keep him out any length of time, but especially for what's going to be such a special night next Thursday when the Jets kick off the season. It would be an absolute shame if Jonathan Toews wasn't available to make his official return to the NHL in that first game of the season.
Oh, man, I didn't even think about the possibility of missing the opening night when we're all going to be there in the WST section. But I guess that's the risk that you take when you have, when you're 37 years old, you haven't played, real pro hockey at a game level, preseason or regular season. You're going to have possibility of injuries. You may be tweaking something. So hopefully it's just minor. Oh, I'm telling you right now, I have the clips in our sheet. Sorry, I didn't put them in before. But it could be tweaking something. That's why they put in those clauses of games played and the incentives in his contract. So, again, hopefully it's nothing and it's just precautionary because it is preseason. But you wonder what his ability to be able to play a full season is. A guy who hasn't played in a couple of years. As far
this
as
could be nothing. This could be I didn't feel so good, and I'm going to be playing against on Saturday, so I just sat out. But again, we don't know right now. The bottom line is the last time he was on the ice, it was in the second period. He left, And we'll hear it from the horse's mouth himself. This is what Arniel had to say, though, about the game overall last night in the Twin Cities.
I thought it was a good game. Obviously, we know each other pretty well, two divisional opponents, but, there are lots of good things I liked on our side. Did some real nice things. Really liked, how we hemmed them in at times, did some real good things that way. Didn't like the shorthanded goal and the power play goal against some areas that we got to continue to keep building on. But lots of good things. Guys are still battling for jobs, and we had guys out that were playing tonight that had to show us something. There were some good efforts.
A lot of power plays, obviously. Yeah. Too. So
yeah. I mean, certainly don't have our key guys, but at the end of the day, that's what. Those are the chances, the opportunities that you give, some of these young guys to see what they can do. And, at the end of the day, whatever the decision is made, and if they're staying or if they're going, at least they've gotten the opportunity to be in those spots.
All right, so there's Scott Arniel, and the Ville Heinola fans certainly enjoyed all the power plays. I mean, with Josh Morrissey not in the game, we got a chance to see Ville. And a bunch of the young players out on the power play last night seemed to be like some good experience for those guys. Just a quick note, Remis, Ken reporting that was it Cale Clegg, Jared Anderson-Dolan, and Samuel Fagimo all being optioned to the waiver wire for assignments to the Manitoba Moose just in the last few minutes.
Yeah, and we've seen a number of players all training camp go on the wire. There was one player claimed today, Tyson Jost, got claimed. I imagine all these guys would clear and join Manitoba Moose training camp. Jared Anderson-Dolan really made a name for himself in the playoffs last year with his hard-nosed style, and you wonder if these guys will come up and make an impact at some point in the season if there are injuries. But if we thought Cale Clegg maybe would get a longer look because of the Sandberg injury, that is not the case. Placed on waivers, and the remaining names in there, Stanley, Ville, Colin Miller, they may not have to make that tough call of putting someone on waivers. And just looking at the ice time last night, you mentioned Ville Heinola. He played 21 minutes even. Logan Stanley, 15:34. Hayden Fleury, 17:40. Colin Miller, 21:11. So you wonder, does that give us any indication on who's got the inside track on the battle for being in the lineup? That's really all we're looking for, and a spot has opened up now with that Sandberg injury. So the forwards, Brad Lambert, he was in there, he got some power play time, he played 15:45. Cole Perfetti was the game forward leader in ice time, 21:19, and you anticipate he's going to have take a step forward this season. So it is preseason. They lost 3-2. The Jets preseason record, what is they got one win now in 5 games. Not really a concern. The bigger concern
in a slump?
is health.
A slump right now?
Well, and Connor Hellebuyck got his first preseason actions, 16 saves, 19 shots, 1 highlight reel save. That's the one area. No real concerns there about the goaltending with Connor Hellebuyck.
Yeah, listen, obviously we didn't have a live show yesterday, but I'm sure I wasn't the only one that was refreshing the old X app to see what the beat guys, Connor and the rest of the crew down there, had to say from Arniel, and it was good news. It was much ado about nothing, I guess, for Connor Hellebuyck. He played last night, and yes, that stone-cold larceny of Marco Rossi reminded everyone that the Jets still have the man when it comes to goaltending in the NHL. Back-to-back Vezinas, and of course the reigning Hart Trophy winner in the National Hockey League. Now, as we mentioned, David Gustafsson actually played a strong game, probably his strongest game of the preseason, which I think certainly will help him. Now, listen, if there's some sort of an issue with Toews, certainly Gus, I think, becomes even more important to the team. It was a perfect 5 for 5 in the draw in the circle last night, which is a nice little development for Gus. I would expect him to be the 13th forward at the start of the year if everyone is healthy. But again, the big question is, will everyone be healthy? Here's what Scott Arniel had to say about both Toews and Vlad leaving the game last night.
Yeah, he just tweaked something here. We'll see when we get back. Day off tomorrow, Thursday. We'll get a look at him, find out what it is.
Nothing really serious, you don't think?
I don't know really yet. Right now, it just kind of just ended, so just tweak something and we'll see how it moves forward.
Mestikov, too?
That was a spotter.
Yeah,
he's fine. He was fine.
Yeah,
we just ran out of time to get him back out there. That was just a spotter. Just got hit, and they decided that he had to come out.
Yeah, so there you have it on the coach. I mean, first off with Toews, I mean, tweaked something that's pretty vague. So we will wait for tomorrow, and hopefully it's good news on Jonathan Toews, and he'll be out there and he'll be able to participate, which I believe was the plan in the final preseason game in Calgary on Saturday, and they get ready to come back in his hometown and restart his NHL career in the Winnipeg Jets home opener. The Matisz thing was a little different. We know exactly what happened to him. He got smoked from behind in a truly wild-esque hit by Yakov Trenin, and according to the coach, left because the concussion spotter decided that he needed to leave the game ring.
Yeah, this was a pretty... I could add it to the compilation of dirty hits against the Wild. The puck isn't really there. Trenin drills him in the back, and he goes headfirst into the boards. Arniel said it was a shoulder. I mean, his face went right up against the glass, like you're watching a cartoon. So you hope he's okay. I don't blame the concussion spotter for taking him out. I think his head does. I'm watching the replay on Mike's X account replay and PVR ability, very limited on these stream-only games,
yeah.
but Minnesota, they just do it every time, whether it's Marcus Foligno, Ryan Hartman, it can be game 81 of the regular season or a preseason game. These guys are going to do something stupid against the Jets, and I know they're not happy about Logan Stanley sitting on Kaprizov a couple of years ago. Well, there's a bit of a scrum after. Will this carry over to the regular season? We'll have to wait and see, but the Jets-Wild rivalry is definitely alive and still going strong.
If I could change one move that the Jets made in the entire preseason, it would have been to hold off sending Tyrell Bauer down and having him in the lineup last night against the Wild. I would, if there's a way that he could get a call up at one point for a Wild game, I'll just stay it right now. Full support for that. Yeah. And there you can see there's a still shot of Vlad going headfirst into the boards.
That looks so bad, man.
That's
gotta be so painful.
Listen, I get why the concussion spotter made the call down to the bench. But anyways, it sounds like it's good news on Vlad. So he's sometimes it's overlooked. I mean, you're right. It is cartoon-esque.
I know you're saying good news. Look at this picture. He got drilled from behind into the boards. I'm sorry, I couldn't. I'm sorry for the laughter. I'm just the Wild. They do this every time.
Yeah, I mean it's one thing or the other. Oh, bring it on! The season just around the corner. All right. Oh, a lot of people supporting my Tyrell Bauer thoughts for the for a Wild game. Yeah, listen. We know T. Konopali's the president of the Tyrell Bauer fan club. We'll see whether that happens at some point. Anyways, we are going to talk. Here's one more. I mean, listen, the big news of the day yesterday in the NHL, we're going to get into this with John Matisz in a couple minutes, is Kaprizov. 17 mil, front-loaded contract. I mean, he squeezed the Wild for every dollar, and they folded, but they've got their franchise player around for 9 more years. Here's what Arnie had to say on Kaprizov.
Yeah, I mean, I wish he wasn't in our division. He's dynamic. He's one of the elite players in this game, and that's a big contract. And he's certainly he's a guy that, especially in this market here in Mini, that brings people out of their seats. And there's a few dynamic players in the league, and he's certainly one of them.
Where's Boldy in that conversation? Where's Boldy?
Oh, he's a good young pro. I mean, he's a guy that is, that's coming and scored a nice goal tonight. He's got skill set, and obviously watching that, I'm sure that Four Nations gave him a ton of confidence. And another good player that they've got some good skill here, and they've got some good depth when it comes to those type of players. And like I said, they're in our division, so can't be too nice about them.
All right, there's Scott Arniel. Murat's going to join us coming up in about half an hour, and we'll kind of dive back into specific Jet topics. But John Matisz from The Score is going to join us right away. By the way, just while we were playing that clip, I was checking out the inventory for the opener in the WST section, and I think we had 26 tickets on Friday. We're down to only 7. So, gang, winnipegjets.com/WST. Jump on those remaining tickets before they're gone, because once they're gone, we're not going to be able to add any more to the section. That is it. We got more than we expected to be able to get. We were hoping to get like 20 or so. I think we got 40. So there's 7 remaining right now. If you want them, we'd love to see you for that game. Your ticket also includes a beverage, which you'll get on the Jets 360 app. So winnipegjets.com/WST. Get on those. And, of course, the other 5 games all available right now. Earlier, you get them the best seats there, winnipegjets.com/WST. Speaking of getting things in a timely manner, if you haven't already gotten your tickets for the HSC Millionaire Lottery, do not wait. We've got another deadline coming up next week for more incredible bonuses and early bird prizes for the HSC Millionaire Lottery. Of course, the grand prize, someone is going to be Manitoba's newest millionaire. Your choice of one of 5 dream home packages, 4 in the greater Winnipeg area, 1 on Vancouver Island, or very simple, Jerry Maguire, show me the money, $1.25 million cash. But we've also got the super bonus coming up, the Grey Cup bonus, and again, that deadline of midnight on next Thursday, October 9th. Make sure you get your tickets in before that, because you can win $55,000 cash, a 2026 Toyota 4Runner, or this is an amazing package, a game suite for a Jet game with food and beverage credit valued at $11,000, $1,000 Jets gear gift card, $25,000 in Indigeno travel vouchers, and $20,000 cash, or of course $55K, and 4 more winners of $1,000 each in Red River Co-op gift cards for gas and groceries. It's all in support of the Health Sciences Center, Manitoba's hospital. So get your tickets right now at hscmillionaire.com or at your local Red River Co-op or London Drugs location. Our friends at Rollies are ready to move on into fall. Folks, if you've got a move for you and your family coming up, lean on our friends at Rollies Transfer, the experts in moving and the most trusted name in moving for over 60 years in Manitoba. Head on over to their website at rollies.com and click on Request an Estimate. Make sure to put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. And then let them know when and where you're moving, what needs to be moved. And the friendly staff at Rollies will turn it around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they have been famous for now into their 7th decade. For all of your moving needs, make it Rollies, the most trusted name in Manitoba. Find out more, request an estimate today over at rollies.com. Listen, it's all smiles right now with this gorgeous weather as we get closer to hockey season. If your smile needs a little work, or it's been a minute since you've been to see the dentist, why don't you holler at our pal Dr. Terry and his great staff at St. Vital Dental Center. Of course, St. Vital Dental Center has been serving generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans for years, and now have a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's with state-of-the-art equipment and, of course, convenient free parking right behind the building. They've got services ranging from cleanings and checkups all the way to things like dental implants. They really can do it all and serve patients from 6 months to 99 plus. For all your dental needs, lean on our friends at St. Vital Dental Center. Go on to stvitaldental.ca for more information and to make an appointment. And just before we bring in John, a big cheers to all of you Bomber fans from our friends at Canadian Club. I think Bomber fans almost drank that stadium dry on Saturday. But, of course, if you pop by your local Manitoba liquor marts right now, limited quantities remain of the special Canadian Club Blue Bomber label bottle for Canada's original Canadian whiskey, the best in the game since 1858. So make sure, get you ready for the fall. And, of course, the upcoming Grey Cup with the Blue Bomber label Canadian Club bottle right now at Manitoba liquor marts. And while you're at it, you can still grab that taste of summer with the CC Club Pack, the CC and Ginger, Citrus Smash, and the half and half also available while you're in your local Manitoba liquor marts. All right, let's welcome in our pal John Matisz from The Score as I turn my head and see the Tigers have tied up this game at 1-1. John, what's going on? How are you?
Sorry, that was me. He's good now.
Hey, what's going on? Sorry, we had you muted there for a sec.
Well, I was just going to say you're multitasking master here. I mean, Remis, not quite the multitasker apparently, but but here we are. You're watching baseball. You're doing ads. You're welcoming in. It's impressive stuff.
Hey, you're just before we kind of dive into the hockey, and I mean, you are a hockey writer. You focus on hockey. That is your gig. As a sports fan, I can't imagine the buzz around the upcoming weekend for the Blue Jays. I mean, it really seems to be captivating the entire country. But, you know, you saw the ratings for game 162, the biggest ever for the Blue Jays on Sportsnet. And now that they actually got it done, we're watching the Yankees and Red Sox beat the hell out of each other. The excitement must be incredible in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, like I moved out of Toronto like 5 or 6 years ago, and then now I live kind of in the country, even further away from Toronto. But I generally am happy I'm not living there. But I used to live downtown, and one of the benefits of it was feeling the buzz, like literally like walking down the street, all the jerseys, all the just conversations happening. I was there for when the Raptors won, and right after they win the NBA title, people are flooding to Dundas Square, which is basically the Times Square of Toronto, and it was just kind of a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I mean, I guess you never know who else is going to win in the city of Toronto. It hasn't been the greatest history over the last 30-plus years. But, yeah, you can feel the buzz still. Like, it's one of those things where, like, the Leafs very, 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 very rarely get overshadowed. And right now they are being overshadowed significantly by what the Jays are doing right now.
Yeah, so much they just ditched town. Apparently they're up up in Muskoka. Doing a little cottage country and cottage life right now. Listen, let's get to this. I mean, I could not believe a week or whatever ago it was when we heard the reports that the Minnesota Wild met with Kaprizov and his agent and threw $16 million a season on the table for 8 years and got a no. A week later, they squeeze him for an extra $1 structured as they wanted it. What was your reaction to the contract? And we'll sort of get into the fallout of what this means for many other teams around the league.
I guess my reaction yesterday when it actually came down, there wasn't a ton of shock in a sense that, like, he already turned down 16. So, I mean, the number was going to be higher if he was staying in Minnesota. I mean, unless he had a change of heart and was like, I don't like this awkward situation. I just want to sign. But it's such a perfect storm, right? Like, you think about Minnesota and their history as a franchise. He's the best player in franchise history. Like, there's kind of no debate. And he's just sitting there, basically tempted to test free agency. He's with this agent, Paul Theophanous, who has been known to be a tough negotiator. You know, he got Artemi Panarin his $11.6 million AAV way back when getting into double digits was almost unheard of. So he's got the agent in his ear, obviously, and a guy who's willing to buck trends, Theophanous. And he just had so much leverage, Kaprizov. I mean, even if you compare him to McDavid in a sense that, like, most valuable offensive player to a team, because McDavid has Draisaitl with him, I think Kaprizov might actually be the most valuable. Like, because, you know, McKinnon has Makar. Like, you go down the list. It's a pretty big drop from Kaprizov. Like, Matt Boldy's a really good player, but it's a big drop, especially when you just completely remove Kaprizov from the equation. So he just had so much leverage in terms of what he brings to the table on the ice, and then so much leverage off it in terms of, okay, not only have the Wild never had a player of his caliber, good luck getting their next one in terms of being a team that always wants to make the playoffs, never rebuilds. Their owner came out and was probably a little too confident that things were going to get worked out quickly here and maybe played his hand a little too loosely. And that might have led to this $16 to $17 million bump. Bill Guerin obviously had his hands tied as well. So it's really strange. It's a very, like, I guess, unique scenario. But at the same time, I mean, $17 million for him to be the best, or sorry, the highest paid player by what are we think, $3 million? Because Draisaitl makes 14, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head. that's just, it doesn't compute in terms of like just looking at it in a vacuum. In a vacuum, Kaprizov should make, even with the cap rising, let's say around Draisaitl's number. But for him to just completely fly past it after he had 16 just sitting there waiting for him is quite something.
It is a sign of the times in the National Hockey League, and of course entirely correlated to the fact that the timing is perfect for all of this because of the escalation of the salary cap over the next few years. And he's still going to be eating up a big chunk of the salary cap. I believe I heard the guys saying it was the third biggest percentage of cap in any contract ever signed in the league. The previous ones were Alex Ovechkin's, and then actually Ilya Kovalchuk.
Yes.
When Kovalchuk signed for 6.4 on a $39 million cap. $39 million cap.
Speaking of leverage, the guy was in Atlanta and they were terrible forever, right? So yeah, it's wild. Like, and it's hard, right, for us to change from the flat cap era where things were so easily, I guess, translatable year to year. Now we got to rewire. Like 10 million is like nothing now moving forward. And what's the trickle down effect of this contract on other unrestricted free agent wingers? Obviously Kyle Connor, you got Artemi Panarin, same agent, Adrian Kempe, Alex Tuch. Now, obviously the teams are going to be like, no, that was a completely separate scenario, very unique situation. But like, it's if Kaprizov's at 17, and let's just say Connor, he's a better player than Connor. And yes, the wild sort of effect of all this needs to be considered. But like, if you're Connor's agent, you go, hold on, like we're going to take a step back from any negotiation that we've had so far, and we're raising the bar, even if it seems crazy from the Jets side of things. It's just the market has shifted. Whether it shifts all the way in the direction of Kaprizov remains to be seen, and is probably unlikely, again, because of the unique scenario out in Minnesota and how much he pushed them to the limit. But nevertheless, like, these agents are looking around going, thank you, Paul Theophanous, for doing our job for us to some extent.
Well, and that's the thing. And I'd been kind of speculating that, because from every account, and Remo, if you want, get that Drager clip up. We'll play that in just a second. From all accounts, the team, the player, pretty close, like they're on the same page as far as what he's going to be paid. And obviously it's going to be the biggest contract in Winnipeg Jet history. But what has been reported has been, they're going back and forth on the structure of the contract. The Jets don't want to have it all in bonuses and have it all be front loaded. And then Kaprizov gets it, and I believe he's got a $1 million base salary.
Yeah.
And it's 16 mil. Here you go every single year when you show up at work. So, that certainly, I mean, even if they've got the numbers taken care of on the deal, if that's problematic for Winnipeg, this didn't do them any favors. Here's just a little update from Darren Drager on the latest on the Connor contract. Darren?
With the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, they continue to grind away at that deal, but it has to be a deal that is good for the player and good for the organization. There's a want from ownership all the way through the organization to get this star player extended for a long time. But what does the structure look like for the Winnipeg Jets and Kyle Connor? How much of that structure has to be in signing bonus? So they're making progress, they're grinding away, but they're not at the finish line there yet.
All right, so there's Darren Drager. That was from That's Hockey yesterday, I believe, over on TSN. And here's the thing. For a long time, everyone thought it's going to be $11 million. And now I'm thinking, it's probably going to be more like 12, which, of course, is what Marner just extended for. I wouldn't be surprised if by the time this thing gets announced, however they figure out what the bonuses are going to work, I mean, this could be, if it's an 8-year extension, very likely we could be talking about $100 million. I mean, a 12.5 AAV. Now, I would predict today it's probably somewhere in between 12 and maybe that's the high point. But again, depending on what team you are, the ability just to roll out that much at the beginning of the season can be a problem. And I know people will say, well, the Jets have the richest owner in the league. they still run their business like a regular business. It's not like, hey, by the way, go into this kitty and grab us a quick 20 mil and we'll put it back in later on. So, I mean, it is challenging. And this, I don't think there's any doubt, John, that this deal has made things even more challenging for even the Vegas Golden Knights with Jack Eichel. And then there's the whole McDavid thing. I mean, what are you hearing on McDavid, and how do you see this playing out? Because I do a show in Edmonton every day with Dustin Nielsen, and the fact that they're still at somewhat of a standstill, knowing that the Oilers will basically say yes to anything, has to be incredibly concerning for Edmonton Oiler fans that have seen this team get so close to winning it all the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, it's I mean, from what I've been told over the last couple of months, ever since McDavid spoke at the Olympic camp in August, is like what he's saying publicly is literally his thought process. Like, and it sounds like BS, but like I've been told by different people, like, no, like what he's saying publicly is true. And I actually totally see where McDavid's coming from, where it's like, okay, you're locked into this year with this core, with this group of players. There's not a ton of wiggle room. And they just went to the Cup final. I mean, like saying, okay, we think we're good enough to go back to the Cup final isn't a crazy thing to say or think or believe in. So I get that. And then I also get the fact that he looks towards the future and goes, hold on. So Nurse is whatever, 30 something, you know, you've got guys like all heading towards 30, you know, 30, mid 30s, late 30s, except for like Bouchard and whatnot. And like, I wonder how much of this, of him not being really super excited about the future can kind of like almost like circle right back to Holloway and Broberg getting poached. Like, was that sort of the beginning of the end, assuming he leaves, which obviously is not for certain. But like the Oilers management, going back to Ken Holland, have kind of fumbled the bag in terms of, yes, they've surrounded him with a lot of talent. Yes, Leon Draisaitl has turned into one of the top 5 players in the world. But like there's been so many hits and misses around the edges, and now you're looking at Matt Savoy and Ike Howard as guys who are just trying to make it as NHLers, having all this pressure of like, oh, if I don't do well, like McDavid's going to leave and I'm going to be the issue. And like, obviously from McDavid's perspective, he goes, well, if you can't handle that pressure, like maybe you're the wrong person for me to play with long term. So it's interesting in that respect. But if I were handicapping it, I think that, well, first of all, I think the longer it goes into the season, I suppose, like logically, the more likely it is that he eventually moves on. But I wouldn't say it's panic time. I think still the most likely scenario is short-term deal in Edmonton that sort of keeps his options open moving forward, especially with the cap rising. But he sort of still commits to this place that he's always been, to Draisaitl, who's locked up for a long time, and a couple more runs at this. I'd say the second most likely is probably that he leaves, and then third would be long-term deal, because it seems like if the long-term deal was going to happen, probably would have happened by now, right?
Well, and the other thing is, I mean, he looks at, like, I was listening to Mike Johnson yesterday, and Mike's like, well, okay, what this immediately means in the short term is that no matter what deal Connor McDavid signs, like say he's just going to do a short term, a 2-year extension with the Edmonton Oilers, like it's got to start at 17. And listen, McDavid, I guess, could say, no, I want us to have money for this guy and this guy, so I'm just going to give me what Draisaitl's making. Like, we know, like, that will not fly within the PA.
No.
That won't fly with other agents. I mean, there is a new bar that's been set in the National Hockey League. And with all due respect to Kaprizov, as brilliant of a player as he is, Connor McDavid is in another stratosphere. And legitimately, based on the $17 million, there is not a number that McDavid could walk into Stan Bowman's office with that I think they could balk at.
Yeah, like it's tricky, right? Because I think if you ask, 100 people, should McDavid be paid the 20%, the maximum against the cap, 20%, which I think is right now 19.1. I think, 95 people would go, yeah, absolutely. But then you start thinking about it, you're like, well, that's a fifth of the cap. I mean, how are you going to ice a full team that goes deep under those circumstances? So, I don't think he's going to sign for the max. Like he totally could, But I think if he actually does want to win a cup, you're really locking your team in a tough situation. So there's that component where like there is a limit here. He's not just going to like be having a record-breaking contract for the sake of it. But, you know, it would be strange if he came under Kaprizov, right? Where it's like, even if it's like 17.1, just bringing that bar higher, and also just best player in the world. He deserves to be the highest paid guy, and 17.1 would be totally fair, for lack of a better way to put it, if you're the Oilers, right? So I would say I'd be pretty shocked if he gets below Kaprizov, even though clearly McDavid is thinking about more than money. Just because, one, it's like, the PA angle of it, the sort of ego part of it, and just like you're leaving money on the table. It's one thing to leave like $2 million a year on the table, 19 to 17. It's another to leave like $4 million on the table, 19, to 15, or whatever the case may be. So I'd say 17.1 from my perspective seems like the lower end.
Yeah, well, as I said, the every GM I hit up my pal in Vegas last night, and I'm like,
Okay.
hey, how's the Kaprizov deal going over in the Knights front office? And he's like, well, he was in Denver or whatever for a game, so he hadn't been in contact yet. But I think there was some legitimate sticker shock throughout the year. Did you have sticker shock on the Luke Hughes extension at $9 million a year by the New Jersey Devils? There's a lot to this one because he's not the only Hughes guy in the market.
Well, like, can we pause for a second and just, realize or point out that it seems like we're in a bit of a like player empowerment sort of situation here, where Kaprizov just gets what he wants essentially. Luke Hughes, because his brother's also there, and because there's a hypothetical situation where Quinn Hughes ends up there too. Like he had a lot of leverage for an RFA that has 140 games under his belt, and he used it to his full extent. I mean, him getting $9 million is wild as far as like the sticker shock. But then, you go through the layers. Like every contract you can essentially like figure out the rationale for the entire league. Like some of them are less, less debatable than others, more debatable than others. But with Hughes, Luke Hughes is, it's like what the Carolina Hurricanes are doing right now. Like Logan Stankoven, Jackson Blake, a couple of other players, they've gone at them. They've thrown $50 million in their face after 100 games and said, what are your thoughts on signing this and being part of the long-term core here? That's essentially what happened with Luke Hughes, but on steroids. And this approach that GMs are taking, where they're really, 100 games in, like you look at Matt Coronado in Calgary, who signed a deal in the spring when he had played barely at all. GMs are just looking at this rising cap and going, we want to get ahead of it. Like we want to be the team that in 3 or 4 years has 4 or 5 players that are at 8 million, 9 million, and everyone else is paying, out the nose for similar players because they're free agents or because they waited to lock them up. So I think in 3 years or so, that deal will look closer to a bargain than what it does now. Because I think Luke Hughes is like a legitimate top pairing defenseman. So, what's the market on that in a couple of years? It's going to be 9 million or more, right? So it is a bit wacky, especially because he is coming in on that deal this year. But it's really a sign of the times, and also like financially, and also a sign of the times in terms of players. Like they're not just sitting there and going, yes, I'd love to sign for 8 years at the number that you want. Like players are kind of sticking out their chest and saying like, we're going to push back a little bit.
Yeah, I would say that the team that did the best when it came to their negotiations was the Ducks. Now, I mean, Mason McTavish said, I'm getting my money, but they waited to do it, and when it was 6x7, and
yeah,
he's
that's a good deal.
Yeah, well, for sure, because I mean, I think the potential of him at center, and they've got so many young players to get him done as these other ones are going up with a bit of a bar within the room, I think. Is interesting. The one thing I'll say about Hughes, and a lot of talk about Sandberg's contract, like he's got tons of points, power play guy, and I mean that will always be the thing that is tangible and will get you the money. The Sandberg, there's so many intangibles that maybe were harder to plug in, and I think that's why they never got to the number that, would have made sense for both parties on an 8-year deal, and they'll do it again in a few years at a very good time for Sandberg with where the cap is going to be. But Luke Hughes, his contract extension, also very important to note, takes him 2 years past the expiration of Big Brother Jack's contract.
Yes.
And
Yes.
make no mistake about it, having his kid brother there for 2 more years, I think, is a very good bit of business for the New Jersey Devils if they want to keep their franchise center there long term as well.
Well, speaking of good deals, I mean, Nico Hischier and Jack Hughes at whatever, $16 million combined. I mean, that's some of the best.
That's less
business.
than Kaprizov.
Yeah, exactly. And Jack Hughes needs to stay healthy, et cetera. But like, there's some teams out there that are like, and the thing with it, with like the sort of negative side of locking up a young player who's relatively unproven, the negative side is, okay, if he doesn't work out, you're stuck with this player for a long time. But change of scenery trades happen all the time. Like, I feel like it's not that hard to get off of a player that maybe hasn't lived up to their potential in their contract, but has a draft pedigree or has had a couple of impressive seasons. There's teams out there that go, oh, we can fix him. We can fix him. So I feel like the downside to these types of deals, let's just say like the Luke Hughes deal, is very minimal.
John Matisz is with us from The Score. I couldn't help it as we were talking about, the GMs getting ahead of things.
Yeah.
Thinking that the Colorado Avalanche must be sitting here right now going, what the hell did we do last year?
Yeah.
Like scoffing at Mikko Rantanen at 12, having it end up the way that it did with him ending up right back in their division. And now they're pretty much going to probably be forced to pay Marty Nakash if they want to keep him in and around that same neighborhood with the way these contracts are escalating.
Yeah, it's almost like they looked at the landscape in the league and went, we have 2 superstars. We can't have 3. Even, Rantanen's obviously not quite in the McKinnon tier, but like, we can't be paying double digits to 3 players, so we need to figure out a way out of this. But the problem with that, of course, is that, eventually other players get to double digits sort of organically with the cap, right? So, yeah, that's a really tough pill to swallow. And, on the flip side, if you think of like Mitch Marner, he's making $12 million over 8 years. I mean, he's $5 million behind Kaprizov now. And don't get me wrong, it's a lot of money he got. He went to Vegas, great spot. Taxes are nice and everything. But it's like, it's kind of funny how quickly things can change.
Well, they did, and they absolutely did. And listen, from the Marner perspective, I mean, listen, everybody wants to go to Vegas. So Vegas isn't going to be able to do that for everyone. So you sort of have to find your spot. And obviously with the taxes, maybe that's worth an extra $1 or whatever. I don't have the math on it, but he's in a pretty good spot. But again, now Jack Eichel's going to come up and they got to worry about him. It's been a wild offseason. And, with these RFA deals getting done and now these extensions being prioritized in and around the league, there's a major shakeup when it comes to just how much it's costing teams like the one here in Winnipeg to keep top high-end offensive players moving forward. Just on Makar. Like when his deal is up in 2 years, like I got to think that he's looking at in excess of 15 for sure. And if not, he could very well demand a Kaprizov deal.
Oh, easily. I think he's in the running for second best player in the world. I think it's probably McKinnon, but he's 3, 4, or 5. And I don't know. I don't know about you, Huss, but like I feel like the game is generally, like very generally, big picture, shifting towards being more blue liner focused. Like they're so involved with the puck now. The value of having a 2-way defenseman or 3-zone defenseman, whatever you want to put it, like a Dylan Sandberg. Obviously, the offense isn't there with him, but like him and Jacob Slavin and Jake Sanderson, these types of players are incredibly valuable. And so I feel like the game has changed a bit, and Makar is kind of like, I hate to throw around this type of comparison, but he's kind of the Bobby Orr of this generation. So he could really command anything. He's so incredibly impactful every shift. I don't think Quinn Hughes is that far behind him on the pecking order of defensemen in the world. I think like the way that Hughes can control a game, the way that he can put the Canucks on his back from the blue line is something else. But Makar and his skill set and the dynamicism involved in the way that he operates is just, like I said, he's a top 5 player in the world, and I don't see it changing anytime soon. I mean, him and Hughes are both super young still. They're like 24, 25. So sky's the limit in terms of like where their careers end up.
Yeah, Makar right now, 2 more years at $9 million, and then will absolutely break the bank. John, what do you have cooking up before the puck drops next week over at The Score?
Right now, actually, I'm working on predictions. You know how it's prediction season. So it's sort of like a mix of bold predictions and sort of realistic predictions and just a trip around the league in that sense. So trying to hit on that 26. You got to do, as I'm sure people who watch the show know when they read content out there, it's like 26 predictions for the 2025-26 season. You got to make it sing. You got to make it rhyme somehow.
Listen, we'll be looking forward to it. Great to have you back on the program, pal, and can't wait to talk some puck with you throughout the season. Have a great one.
Absolutely. Have a good one. Cheers.
Good stuff. There's John Matisz from thescore.com. You can check out his work there. And yes, the predictions. It is prediction season, as he said. A lot of hot takes coming out over the next little while. We'll have Murat join us in just a few minutes. Hey, as I mentioned right off the top of the show, a big WST welcome. And this is so cool, to the Chuds Power Sports family. We are going to be having a lot of fun on WST with weekly power polls brought to you by Chuds Power Sports. And even better, because I know that the Chuds guys, led by the Derminator, longtime WST listeners and supporters. So it is great to have them on. Now, Chuds Power Sports, they've been in business for generations. 89 years in the Gimli community, and you'll find them right at the corner of Highway 8 and 231. You cannot miss it. I mean, Chuds Power Sports, for now into their 9th decade, has been providing customers with premium product and the best in customer service. I mean, they are the power sports superstore, representing Polaris, Arctic Cat, Timber Sled, Husqvarna motorcycles, Suzuki, Motorcycle and Marine, Mercury Marine. I mean, all the biggest names. And I'll tell you what, Argo, Sasquatch. I got lost in their website today, as you can see with what Remis is showing right now, with all the incredibly cool vehicles they've got. They are, and listen, they have been taking care of Manitobans for over 80 years when it comes to it. But I would really encourage you to pop out there and check out everything that they've got going on. I mean, as fall is here, they're now getting into ATVs, side-by-sides. Of course, boating season is sort of ending. But you might get some great deals right now at the end of seasons. And, of course, tractors, gears, and accessories, and snowmobile season is coming. And the great deals are starting now on Polaris and Arctic Cat sleds. And I will say this, and we'll mention this throughout when we're doing the power polls and whatnot. They've also got, I mean, you guys all love great deals. Check out their other site, truenorthparts.ca. And it is somewhat of an online clearance center. And they have like clothing, helmets, equipment at incredible deals. So as you get ready for the upcoming season, you want to check out truenorthparts.ca. But a big welcome to the Power Sports Superstore in Manitoba, Chuds Power Sports in Gimli. Welcome aboard, and stay tuned. The first Chuds Sports Power Sports Power Poll on WST will be coming up before the weekend. We'll also have an edition. I'm very looking forward to what Connor and Liz do with their weekly power poll on WST Sunday Live. Also want to thank Princess Auto for their great support of WST. Of course, Princess Auto has been with us for years, headquartered, founded right here in Winnipeg, now coast to coast, but with 3 Manitoba locations to serve you, 2 in Winnipeg, 1 in Brandon. Princess Auto is where you'll find the best deals and the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new, waiting for you at Princess Auto. So pop by and see them, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, Brandon, or shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. Hey, not forgetting Donnie and the gang at Manitoba Battery. We're talking about all those cool things, at places like Chuds. As you get ready to get that snowmobile ready for the season, or just, let's face it, your car and truck as winter's coming. you got to take care of batteries. And as Donnie says, wake up, Winnipeg. Stop overpaying for batteries at the big box stores when you have a local option in Manitoba Battery with 2 locations, free battery testing as well, that'll take care of you and deliver every single day of the week the best prices in town, period. Beating the pants off the big box stores. Customer service amazing as well. Don't have time to get down to see them on Logan Avenue or Dovercourt Drive. They'll deliver the batteries to you for free anywhere inside the perimeter with any purchase over $60. It is just that easy. Doorstep service around the city. Get out, check them out online, manitobabattery.com, and give them a phone call for delivery as well, or pop by and see them on Logan Avenue or Dovercourt Drive. All right, let's welcome in our pal Murat from The Athletic as we count down to the home opener, just 8 days away. Murat, can you believe October's here already? We are just about ready to drop the puck. How are you?
It is wild. I just went for a little bit of a walk and looking around. It's a beautiful, beautiful autumn day here. I had to sort of double check my phone. Is it October? Did I miss something? It's real, bud. It's real. It's coming down the pipe.
Listen, the leaves will tell you it is autumn. But again, 24 degrees. I mean, getting up to 27. We've got another 27 tomorrow. The golf courses are packed. Doesn't entirely feel like we're about to drop the puck, but guess what? The calendar's not stopping. There's one more preseason game, and then it is go time for the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, I guess we got to start off with last night, and what a time to have this conversation, Murat, because I'm sure there's a little bit of angst after hearing what happened in Minnesota, that Jonathan Toews left after, quote, tweaking something. First and foremost, you hope it's not anything serious that would keep him out of the lineup for any significant period of time. But even missing the first game of the season would be a real disappointment considering how much he's worked to get back and, frankly, how good he's looked through this process of training camp.
I mean, hands up if you immediately started going through the performance bonuses and the games played bonuses, thinking to yourself, wait, hold on. Is there a chance that Jonathan Toews misses games and it happens in a completely different way than we were anticipating when it begun? And okay, that was a long wind up, but my hand is up for that. I immediately went and double checked. The other thing though is kind of what you said. It would be sad for Toews, sad for Jets fans who are fans of Toews, and quite a bit silly if this is the way that he misses games played in this year, 2025-26. We've talked about his comeback from health issues, from long COVID complications, from all that stuff, the incredible comeback to the level that he's at now. And then what? He tweaks something, pulls something, strains something, and it's an ordinary 37-year-old professional athlete malaise that takes him out of the first game. That would be bad news. I'm not under the impression, I don't know the details, but I'm not feeling right now that we're looking at a major situation here, which would be good news, but we'll wait to see what the Jets say tomorrow. God, what a silly way that would be after all of this for Toews to miss any time at all.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there is an inherent risk anytime you do anything. I mean, ask the Florida Panthers. Ask the Panthers. I mean, Barkov is out for the entire year from something that just happened in practice. I mean, at a certain point, you got to practice. You got to get ready for it. I mean, it's nuts. But I mean, we knew Toews was going to be playing some significant time in the preseason. He felt that it was necessary for him to get ready. Maybe, listen, the best case scenario, it was no big deal. Oh, he's still going to play on Saturday. We'll wait to find that out. But I mean, you just hope that won't impact his start, because as much as, I mean, it is a huge Winnipeg story. I mean, this is a massive NHL story, and make no mistake about it, come October 9th, when that puck drops in a sold-out Canada Life Center, eyes from all around the hockey world are scheduled to be paying attention to number 19 back on the ice for the first time to continue his Hall of Fame career.
Yeah, I've made this case at The Athletic. This is one of the biggest early season stories, not just in Winnipeg, but in the NHL. I agree with you there. His comeback is from a long way back. It's Landeskog-esque, and we know how the eyes gravitated towards Gabriel Landeskog during the playoffs last year. I also just published a piece about the 10 most important, highly subjective term, the 10 most important players 35 and older heading into this season based on their context with their team. And knowing that this is a year of Connor Hellebuck's prime, knowing they're a President's Trophy defending champion, whatever you call a President's Trophy win, knowing that this is a team that sees a window in 4 to 5 year increments here right now, and they're betting a year of that on Jonathan Toews being a capable second line center. That's big. That's eyes are on you. That's something that only happens if you have the track record that he has. So heck yeah, it's a big story. And heck yeah, everybody will be hoping that he's there and ready to help Winnipeg attempt to avenge a little bit of its pain against Dallas in that first game of the regular season.
You know, you just, to quickly move away from specifically Jets, we'll get back to that in a minute. You know, that piece was really interesting in The Athletic, and, you know, talking about the 10 most important skaters over 35. And you go down that list, Murat. I mean, Sidney Crosby, Ovi, Tavares, Carlson, Kopitar and Doughty in LA, Brad Marchand with the Panthers. I mean, that list of players are all still absolutely crucial to any expected success of pretty much every one of those teams that they play for.
Yeah, it's wild. Like, we talk about the league as if it's getting younger all the time, and we talk about it's definitely getting faster all of the time. And we're always excited about the next big thing, the next big prospect. But there are several. And I talked about 10 skaters. My long list for this piece was 20 skaters long. You know, included so many who are 35 plus, who are playing enormous roles. And, you know, a lot of stuff has to go right for that to happen. First of all, they almost all started with an elite peak in their prime. Like the quality of player on that list is incredible. Sidney Crosby is one of one, and I compare him more to a Lionel Messi or a Roger Federer or a Novak Djokovic in terms of aging, maybe a Tom Brady you'd put in there as well. Like, more so than other NHL players. He's in a unique case, but you go through what Marchand did in the playoffs. You go through how the Toronto Maple Leafs essentially have 2 number 1 centers with Matthews and John Tavares still playing at the level that he is. Kadri made his case for Team Canada the other day as well. And, you know, if you dig into some of his chance creation numbers, he's still driving play in Calgary in a big way. And so I dug into it, and I talked to Myrtle, who does this demographics piece every single year. And I said, well, hey, is it true that the NHL is getting younger every year? And actually, for the last couple of years, it's actually aged by a little over a year. So I think the NHL bet hard on youth and knows the importance of these young guys on ELCs. And now there are players who are changing the narrative too, like Brad Marchand during the playoffs saying, hey, wait a second, there's some real impact to be had from the right 35 plus guys.
Well, and I don't think, or maybe Nyquist is 35. But bringing it back to the Jets, I mean, you know, and listen, it's just the nature of fans. You're always looking for what the next big thing is, and, you know, guys that can carry your franchise into the future. And we love the draft. But player like a Nyquist, for instance, coming in, if he can have a big season and really help the Winnipeg Jets, you look at that $3 million or whatever they're paying him and going, compared to what you get for younger players who are just cutting their teeth, I mean, that could... You see it every year come playoff time with some of these more veteran-laden teams of guys stepping up the playoffs that have been there before. There is an argument to be made that some of the best spent money is on shorter-term contracts of older players that can come in and help you in the present.
Yeah, if you choose the right guys, it's a gamble that makes sense. And all up and down the lineup, teams are looking for efficiency. They're looking to pay somebody who can then deliver value for what they get. And Winnipeg, well, they're not hitting home runs on the UFA market every year. Drafting's taken a hit. They've traded some picks away, and things have happened that way. So where else are they finding their value? And one smart thing that you see looking up and down their lineup, you see a Vladislav Nemesnikov at a value deal. You have Alex Iafallo at a value deal, Nino Niederreiter. These veterans that maybe some other teams have overlooked or forgotten about that added a specific hard to play against, high motor, energy toolkit to the Winnipeg Jets. And now, okay, you can see the cap efficiency of the roster overall. With Nyquist, that's an interesting one for me too. He's not like a checker. He's not really going to lay the body. I wouldn't put him on the shutdown line the same way that you might with an Alex Iafallo type, or any of the guys that I just named. Actually, they're all quality in that way. But he just turned 36 on September 1st. He has all kinds of creativity. He makes surprising plays in the offensive zone. I think of that spinorama against the Wild where he takes the pass on his forehand and then does a backhand spinorama into the middle. He picks interesting timing to make his plays. He's gone through feet under six. He has all kinds of ideas. So even though he's not famous anymore, even though he's not bigger or faster or what have you, there's reasons to think that he can create in the right context if Winnipeg can get him into that offensive zone. And for $3 million, for me, if that works out, great, tremendous value contract. If it doesn't, $3 million is not a make or break deal for the Winnipeg Jets this season. I respect the gamble, even if my mind is yet to be made up on the player.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll make it. Here's a take for you. I mean, if the Jets can, have a strong season and be a playoff team, I'm pretty sure at the end of that season we'll be talking about some money well spent with a guy that is in a spot right now where they simply have a massive hole and they need to find someone that can be productive and help that second line, maintain, the production that they're losing from Nikolai Ehlers. And I'm not suggesting for a second that he's going to come in and be Ehlers. You have to maybe do it in different ways. But, I mean, he's a very key player, I think, going in, and a guy that we don't know a lot about in Winnipeg and have seen limited in the preseason, but has looked pretty good so far. Listen, the biggest question, I guess, presently, regardless of what happened last night, and there'll be a TBD when it comes to Jonathan Toews, is the blue line. And for the longest time, we've been saying, what the hell are they going to do at the end of training camp with these 9 guys on one ways? Well, unfortunately, they might not have to make that decision because of the Dylan Samberg injury. Murat, this could be 6 to 8 weeks. I mean, we could be talking about the end of November, worst case scenario, based on that timeline. What's the best course of moving forward without such an important guy in that top 4 in Dylan Samberg, based on the players available to Scott Arniel?
I mean, I don't think fans are going to like this answer, but I think the best case moving forward is just to reframe your expectations. There is no player that's going to step into tough minutes alongside Neil Pionk and do what Dylan Samberg did. We were so very impressed with Hayden Fleury last year, going from long shot to make the team to the third pair. He was great there. And then in the top 4, well, he and Neil Pionk went against tough opposition and got smoked. They were outscored 9-5. They were outshot, I think it was 104-81. Like, this was a pairing that was buried in their own zone against top 6 competition. So if you promote Fleury again, I don't think you do it expecting that pair to be able to play its normal tough minutes that Samberg does and beat it the way that Samberg normally does. That is a problem. The other problem is there's no obvious solution. I mean, I can pick apart those numbers and say, okay, well, Fleury is a capable third pairing defenseman, and in the top 4, he's out of his element a little bit. But then what would you say about Logan Stanley if they try him in that situation? Or his pivots against the speed and skill of the top 6 on other teams? That's going to be a problem. Ville Heinola, a long shot to make the team and have a really solid impact or even win a job. Is he going to end up in that role? No, I don't think that's what's going to happen. Are you going to ask Colin Miller to play on his offhand side? There really aren't ways for me to look at this and say the Jets are going to plug somebody in, the chemistry is going to be amazing, and they're going to win those matchups. It's going to be about mitigating how tough it is, treading water, and hoping that by Samberg's return, Adam Lowry's return, whatever else it's all going to be, that they're in a spot where now their healthy lineup can take over and drag them back towards the top of the Western Conference standings.
I won't hold you to this, but if you had to guess today about that opening night lineup on the blue line, I mean, I think we can lock in Morrissey and DeMello. We know that Neil Pionk will be playing with somebody. How does the rest of the if you had to take a guess right now, what do you think Arnie's filling out that timesheet?
Yeah, I'm going with past history, and I'm going to suggest that Hayden Fleury reunites with Neil Pionk on that second pair. And if that's the case, Luke Schenn, for me, has been the anchor of the third pair. I think that Logan Stanley is probably first in line on account of his place in the depth chart, fact that he's a lefty. I don't think they're immediately going to make Colin Miller play on his offhand side, though I do like Miller. I don't think it's Ville Heinola. So, yeah, I'm saying Fleury and Pionk, and then I am saying
so
Schenn
a Stanley pairing?
That's what I am guessing today.
Yeah, that is that certainly has some things going for that pairing, but it would also be might be a bit of a white knuckle ride at times if those guys are out for the Winnipeg Jets. I am interested. We've seen a lot more of Ville over the last kind of week or so. He played some big minutes last night, got a chance to work in on the power play. How much do you think this Samberg injury changes, if anything, for Ville? And might this extended period of time, I don't think it's going to be the same lineup each and every night. Is this maybe a little bit of an opening for him to get a chance to play at some point and maybe show that he's a better option than a couple of the other guys they have in that spot while they're not forced to throw him on waivers?
Yeah, it's, the one thing you're sure of if you're thinking about Ville Heinola is anything can happen to impact his trajectory. When he was 18 years old and the Jets drafted him in June, I think we were all, Trouba had been traded, right? So that helped bring the pick back that got Heinola. Sherratt and Myers signing elsewhere. We could have predicted that. Dustin Byfuglien's sudden disappearance, nobody saw that coming. Nathan Beaulieu was hurt. Josh Morrissey missed some time as well. I think Dmitry Kulikov had to step away from the team. That was a thin Jets lineup. And all of a sudden you have Ville Heinola playing as an 18-year-old, scoring his first goal against Pittsburgh well faster than anybody would have imagined. The seas parted for him. And then to see what's happened since then, where the seas don't part for him, he gets called up and not played, or COVID was complicated for a lot of people, but to be on the taxi squad for over a month and not play at the AHL or NHL level, it was he's had great luck and awful luck. And then you get into the injuries, all that sort of stuff. So somebody put it to me, what if this situation with Samberg's injury is just one more way for him to have an NHL job but never get into the lineup? Wouldn't that just be part of Ville Heinola's track record? I'll end that thought just by saying there is one way it could work out really well for him. And it's if you like that stylistic opposite of Ville Heinola and Luke Schenn on that third pair, where Schenn's the heavy duty, where Heinola's the puck movement. If there's chemistry, if there's a rotation that gets Heinola even a look there, maybe that opens up. But I still see him as 8 of 8 amongst Jets' healthy blue liners.
Yeah, I'm here for listen, I'm dubious on a Stanley Schenn pairing. I mean, I could see Stanley playing with Colin Miller if that's the way they go. But I mean, if Luke Schenn is in the lineup, I mean, I think I'd have some time for seeing Colin Miller play on the left side. It's not like it hasn't happened before, or giving Ville a bit of a chance to see if he can do. Because Murat, I mean, when you look at the Stan Schenley pairing, listen, it won't be fun to go in front of the net, and the coaches will love and all that. But I mean, just getting the puck out of your own zone to me could be a significant challenge at times.
Yeah, I think that would be an item for that pairing for sure. Schenn was a little bit better at exit passes than maybe I anticipated when he came over.
That's fair.
But that, I think they did get buried in their zone at times during the playoffs, and I mean, Schenn was hurt as well, and it wasn't a good look, to be honest. And I think that teams could get to the front of the net, even if they have to face some pain there, because the breakdowns would just be there. The coverage would have lapses in it, and then the foot speed wouldn't be there to kind of get back into space. I think there'd be a lot of chances against there. One of Arneal's options, or Dean Chenoweth's options, if you prefer, would be a rotation where sometimes it is Stanley Miller, sometimes it's Heinola Schenn, and then you ideally get a little bit more complementary skill sets amongst that. But, I'll believe that when I see it. I think that there's a depth chart and a pecking order, and And I guess I'm just approaching it with curiosity. I'm trying to keep an open mind.
Listen, I'm going to throw the why not question of the day for not Autocorp, but Waverly and McGillivray out to the chat right now. And it's just what I was talking about with Murat. What do you expect the third pairing to be for the opening game? Or what would you like to say it? And you can specify whether this is what I think it will be or this is what I would like to see it. Let us know in the chat right now. Hey, Nick Lyman's in chat. What's up, Nick? Hope you're feeling good, pal. Murat, I have to ask you about just your reaction. What was the sticker shock yesterday when you saw the tweet that Kaprizov got 17 a year for 8 years with the Minnesota Wild?
I think, yeah. What would you call that? 2 metric Connor Hellebucks?
It's Hellebuck and Scheifele.
Yeah, put those two together. I mean, I think we've all been expecting sticker shock because we already had to go through he turned down $16 million and it's going to be more than that. So that's there. There is sticker shock to it for me. And I think that will be part of my response to it. The other thing is, another strong part of the response is that it's going to be so much easier for players who are really good, but not Kaprizov good, to ask for not 17 million, but most of that, like 12, 13, 14. You're going to see some secondary star players earning that kind of money because Kaprizov has started to stretch things out a little bit. And I think that might change the dynamic a little bit for the next few years. If you know of any high profile 90+ point pending UFA forwards that you want to talk about, I think that it might impact their deals as well. That's going to change the game a little bit. And then the other takeaway specifically with Kaprizov for me is just Minnesota wanted their guy, didn't want him to walk to UFA, has been clear they didn't want to get outbid by any NHL team. That wasn't ever going to come between them. He was number one, and he was willing to walk if need be. You put that all together and you have a situation where they really had to pony up to keep their guy, and that's going to be a decision that defines their franchise for the next 8 seasons.
You know, the one thing I keep coming back to is we see just the crazy escalation of all these salaries is that the Avalanche didn't want to give Mikko Rantanen in 12. Are now in the exact same position they were a year ago with, in my opinion, an inferior player in Marty Necas, that by the time he signs a deal, based on where things are going, Murat, could be in excess of what Rantanen's getting with Dallas for the next 8 years.
I mean, yeah, if you're within the division and you want to sort of count your blessings from a Winnipeg point of view, I think the idea that things broke down between Rantanen and Colorado, probably that's a good point by you, Huss. I think that should give you some comfort that the Avalanche are less cap efficient than they could have been with a inferior player. I'd agree with that.
Problem is he went to Dallas, who's also in the Central.
Oh, right. Didn't we just see him score a hat trick in game 1? Okay, let's take that narrative and tear it to shreds. But he's, I guess, yeah, if you're looking at Colorado, that is a problem. If you're looking at Dallas, they hit big. If you're looking at Winnipeg, you're grateful that Hellebuck and Scheifele signed when they did. I mean, things are changing. And I guess, just thinking about Winnipeg as well, I assume they go 8 with Connor if they can. Is there a world in which they go short term? Is there I don't know. The timing of how these cap increases have happened and how these UFA contracts have come about could accidentally define what a lot of the competition looks like over the next few years, just because of how much each team had to pay its guy to keep him.
Hey, there's been many reports, and we just heard a clip from Darren Drager that it seems to be like, the Jets and Kyle Connor are, working towards getting this deal done, and they're having many conversations. We keep on hearing it's the structure of the contract. I mean, not necessarily maybe the AAV or the length of the term, but the structure, which to me says bonuses. And I mean, say what you want about the money that Kaprizov's getting a year. Apparently, it's also structured with a $1 million base salary and $16 million check when he shows up at the start of the year every year. Why do you think the structure of the contract is problematic, if you will, for the Winnipeg Jets?
Yeah, it's a great question. And if you want to talk about reports of bonuses being important, go back to 2 weeks ago on your own show. We were talking about it. So that's something that I've sort of written about at some amount of length at The Athletic now. And I think it is a really important question. I think from a player agent's point of view, I'll leave Connor out of this. I'm not inside Connor's head, but you can make some assumptions from an agent's point of view that the goal is to put as much money in your client's hands as possible. You might care a little bit about the AAV. You might care about where that makes a player in the pecking order league-wide. You might want the team to be able to build around him depending on what the client wants for himself and for his team. But mostly, you want to make your client as much money as you can. And one of the ways to do that, other than just a really high annual value, is signing bonuses. And absolutely right, 16 of $17 million on average is signing bonus, if I recall correctly. And even for the first 3 years of Kaprizov, if I remember this from Puckpedia, it's something like 18 million is signing bonus. To get that money in a lump sum at the beginning, a little bit front loaded, but all at once to kick off the year, well, you want to get into wealth generation and wealth management. I'm sure that Kaprizov has a team of people who can turn that into an inordinate amount of wealth relative to if he just got his salary and is like in increments over the course of each year of that deal. That matters. That can generate even more wealth than an extreme amount of wealth that's coming into him. You look at Vegas with Mitch Marner, who I think of as as a superior player to Kyle Connor. Well, 11 out of his 12 million on average is signing bonus. Or I think this year it's 11 million signing bonus that he got already heading into this. And that's one way that agents get money in their clients' hands and then help generate extra wealth. It's like you win the lottery. Do you want the lump sum or the annual payout? Same kind of deal. The math, as long as you're not going to burn it all, favors taking it all at once. The Jets have never operated this way. You look for those signing bonuses in Connor Hellebuck's deal, Mark Scheifele's deal, Josh Morrissey's deal. You will not find them. And I don't mean you won't find $18 million worth of signing bonus. It's you won't find $1 million worth of signing bonus in that. And that is an organizational policy. I don't know the ins and outs of why that go into that I think the Jets are going to have to break to lock Connor down long term. And I think that that's something that is playing into this grinded out, figure out the structure negotiation that they're having.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, I know it's easy, and I brought this up with John, but you can say, well, they've got, the richest owner. I mean, just give them the money. It's just as far as operating a business with a budget. Oh, this is your season tickets. This is what we're going to make. These are all our revenue streams. To cut that check on July 1st before, I don't even think I've made my second season ticket payment at that point on there. I mean, essentially what you're talking about is I mean, unless you're just sitting there on $100 million or whatever, that is part of the cash flow of the organization, you got to get that somewhere. And it's essentially, it's like you got to borrow. And I think it would become much more costly for teams that don't have that fund, if you will. And I think the Jets from day one have always operated as any other business was, not kind of going into the tickle trunk, if you will, for some of David Thompson's spare change.
Yeah, 100%. I want to say it's a book called The Road to Hockeytown, which breaks down the Red Wings sort of dynasty when they were outspending teams in the late 90s. I want to say that's where this idea came from for me. But I think on the outside, we assume that these extremely wealthy people have that kind of cash flow and are willing to drop it at a moment's notice if the circumstances need. And in practice, moving things around is more difficult. This is well above my knowledge level, to be clear, but I think comes from that book. I think it might be in Behind the Moves by Craig Custance as well. There is a real challenge in some cases in those situations. It's not as automatic. And again, I don't know the Thompson finances or how Mark Chipman's approaching this or what have you. But I think that is a real thing. And I think that is playing a role in the Kyle Connor negotiations. It would be the first deal of its kind for Winnipeg if all of a sudden you found a substantial signing bonus in it.
Murat is with us from The Athletic. We are, there's a lot over at The Athletic, actually. I mean, I did enjoy the predictions piece that your colleagues put together on the Jets. That's up right now. And I know you're getting ready for the start of the season. What can we look forward to at theathletic.com as we count down these 8 days until dropping the puck?
Well, you caught me on a Kyle Connor heavy day. So I'm definitely writing in detail a lot of what I've just said and sort of trying to flesh out, make it make sense, and sort of end up predicting an AAV for Kyle Connor, or what happens there, what the holdup is, if anything. That's going to go into a piece that comes up tomorrow. I've got another mailbag on the way where we're talking about Jets drafting history and why the Jets are in a situation like they are now, where there's not going to be a top prospect on the team. Cole Perfetti is 24 years old in January. And he's the last time that Winnipeg drafted a 200-game player in the first round, going back to 2017, if I recall correctly, going back through that. So there's that. There's going to be more preview content as well. This is a anything could happen season for Winnipeg, and that makes for some pretty good fodder if you're a writer about these things, or a talker, as you well know.
Oh, Murat, always great chatting with you, my friend. Looking forward to seeing you down at the rink. Get back outside. Maybe bring the laptop out to the steps and make the most of this gorgeous day we've got. And have a great one. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, bud. You too, Huss.
At WPG Murat on X, and of course, theathletic.com. Lots of great NHL stuff at The Athletic as we get ready for the season. All right, let's get to some fan feedback brought to you by Fans First. Your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market, where what you see is what you pay, no added fees. Of course, Bombers tickets and the CFL on Fans First, and of course, the number one spot as a season ticket holder when I've had to get rid of a couple tickets. It has always been the place that I go. I asked you all about that third pairing at the start of the year. Shane Payne, I would love a Heinola-Shen pairing. I loved Heinola when he first burst onto the scene. Give the guy a chance to prove himself in some meaningful minutes. Nick Lyman, what I expect to see? Stan Shen. What I want to see? Anything else? I share the concern for that pairing. As I say, both of them bring some things that coaches really love. I just don't know whether that works and it's not exploited when they are on the ice. I do see some love for Hayden Fleury getting in there with Neil Pionk and then essentially figuring out that pairing. I got a lot of time for Colin Miller, and I do think that if Stanley's going to play, I think Miller is a more appropriate pairing with him on that third pair. And I also wonder, how, of 82 games, if Luke Shen is healthy, is he an everyday player, or do they kind of go back and forth? And certainly, I mean, I was intrigued by that Ville Shen pairing. Wouldn't mind to see it in some live action. Keep your thoughts coming into the chat throughout the show. Fan feedback brought to you by Fans First, by fans, for fans, no fees. We're going to talk some NFL coming up in just a few minutes. I can tell you right now, we got a beauty here. Cleveland and Detroit 1-1 right now in the 8th inning. We got to wait till the weekend for the Blue Jays. But right now, if you want to get in on these full days, or maybe cut out of work a little early, head down to your local Boston Pizza for all the baseball playoffs right now. Great Thursday nighter coming up with the Rams and Niners. We'll talk about that with Thomas Tipple in a couple minutes, and everything coming up this weekend. And of course, once the Jays are rocking in the ALDS against either Boston or New York, BPs are going to be packed. No better place to get together with your gang for the big game than your local Boston Pizza Lounge and Sports Bar. Ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, great prizes on NFL primetime games. Make it BP. And hey, if you can't get it, get together with your gang. You can always order online and get it hot and fresh to your door by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. Hard to believe we're just about here. We are into October. Now's a great time to get ready for Jet season at Royal Sports. Tons of new gear coming in, all the new jerseys. Maybe you want a 19 Toews, a 14 Gustav Nyquist, or you're going to lock in a Gabe Vilardi after he signed his 6-year extension. Royal's your number one spot for all sorts of Jets gear, including personalized jerseys, not to mention NFL merch, Bomber merch in the CFL, the entire National Hockey League. And of course, Royal Sports is still the hockey superstore in town as you get ready to drop the puck on your season. One stop takes care of it all at Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Make sure to follow them on Instagram as well at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. All right, just before we bring in Thomas Tipple from fantasypoints.com, let's give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, it's Tipple time. Let's bring in our pal Thomas Tipple from fantasypoints.com. Talk a little fantasy and NFL coming out of the weekend. How are you, buddy? What's up?
Doing well, thank you. It's we got some devastating news. Trey Benson going on IR as of this morning, and just we've got Bucky Irving in a walking boot. It is a rough.
Bucky Irving's in a walking boot?
Yeah, he walking boot after the game last week, which I find weird because he dusted them for 73 yards, and then there's it's a foot sprain, which kind of sounds like a Liz Frank, which I have, and it is a nightmare. Shout out to playing men's slow pitch, thinking that the Phillies are out there scouting you still, reliving your glory days. But it's a nightmare, especially for running back. So it's a nonstop chasm of injuries. You get Malik Neighbors, he's down. Jamar Chase might as well be injured because he's, handcuffed with a godful quarterback and Browning. Like, I could not believe how bad that has been for him. He is just not processing the field. I had hopes. I looked at the data when I was on this show with you guys and did not expect this at all. It is it's rough out there on these streets.
Yeah, the Bengals performance on Monday was
abysmal,
as atrocious as anything you'll see from an actual National Football League team. Listen, the Neighbors injury is devastating for the Giants, although Jackson Dart, I think, is going to have some pretty intriguing fantasy prospects just because of the running aspect to his game that we saw.
Right.
Of course, Tyreek Hill and that ugly injury, he's done for the year.
He's probably done forever.
Yeah, I think so.
That's a multi-ligament injury, and this is a player that relies on speed.
The one guy that you didn't mention was Lamar Jackson. Is he hurt, or did he just tap out on Sunday?
Well, his name's not Anthony Richardson, so he definitely doesn't tap out in the middle of games. No, he's got a hamstring problem. I don't know if you remember, but in week 1, they asked him why they didn't go for that 4th down when it was like 4th and 3. And he said, well, I cramped up a little bit. Now, I think it was the hamstring. I think that this is something he's been dealing with. Like I mentioned, I think it was last week, with him not moving around as well, not running as fast. He's getting caught from behind. I think this has just been a problem that he's been dealing with for a little bit. Now they're missing Roquan. They're going to miss Humphrey. Metabike is on IR. They have got Jair, who's just terrible and not in football shape somehow. They've got some other defensive linemen not playing. Travis Jones, Kyle Van Noy's not been playing. He's also looked washed when he was on the field. Like, they are missing so many players on this team. I think they are just trying to get to the bye week and squeaking out a win before making a run. So I think it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks for Lamar Jackson. They're saying, he might play. He's not playing this week. Baltimore is notorious for playing it safe with injuries. I think they're going to roll in there with their B team versus Houston. If they lose that game, it might be GG's on the year for them. I don't see how they get past the Steelers in the division. I had the Steelers to win the division at the start of the year, and it's going to be interesting to see. But the rumors that it's he's hashtag tapped out. That's what players like Anthony Richardson do, not somebody like Lamar. I also just think he's having a hard time with the coaching staff. Like, those were back-to-back games called by Todd Monken that were arguably the worst games I've seen him call as a Ravens offensive coordinator. And I think the John Harbaugh relationship is deteriorating faster than people expected. I have been hashtag Team Fire Harbaugh for 2 years at least. We should have kept McDonald, who went on to coach the head coach and defense in Seattle, and look at that turnaround. So it's just a team in turmoil right now, and that's just the story of the 2025 NFL season.
Yeah, it is. I was listening to was it Simmons or one of the pods coming out of Sunday, and it said, this might be every year. There's a team that just has the year from hell, and it kind of seems like it started in week 1 with that Derrick Henry fumble, and then that game just falling apart, and it's just getting worse. And listen, on a Chiefs side of things, I mean, I couldn't help but feel like, okay, this is now going in a great direction. Mahomes has been brilliant. Now he's got some help. I thought the defense played a great game. And you've got a lot of optimism with Rashee Rice coming back. You saw the difference that Worthy made. But the way Raven defenders were dropping like flies throughout that game, and then to lose Lamar Jackson, and then realize that this team is 1-3 and might have to play for a few weeks without a guy that really is the Ravens' offense, with all due respect to Henry and everyone else around him. I mean, they were basically right there as Super Bowl favorites at the start of this year. This team could make the playoffs. I still think they're good enough to do it. But, man, if they drop 2 or 3 of their next few games, I mean, you're going to talk about needing to run the table in the second half of the season.
Yeah, the problem with the Baltimore Ravens is they have a turnstile at right guard. Watching Falele play offensive line hurts me at an emotional level. I've never seen a less athletic offensive guard in my life. I don't think he would make it on the junior football circuit, let alone the CIS circuit, as a starting guard. He is woeful. And they've got Rosengarten, who's great, and Linderbaum, who's fantastic. Ronnie Stanley also hurt, by the way, which is phenomenal. It's just everything that can go wrong. Has 15 sacks from Lamar Jackson already on the year. And every single one of them, there's just 2 to 3 people in his face at all times. So we're calling deep routes. I just don't understand. And that's reflective in Zay Flowers' first 2 weeks of the year. Zay Flowers is absolutely killer. In the last 2 weeks, if not for Cooper Rush checking it down consistently, wouldn't have got there in fantasy again this week. The offense is regressing under Monken right now. And for John Harbaugh to actively state he's unhappy with it openly, which he never did even in the Greg Roman era, which, let me tell you, if you follow me on X, you can search through my profile and just type in Greg Roman, and it's a list of issues of me screaming on Twitter every Sunday watching that guy design check down plays for Patrick Ricard. It's a rough thing.
Hey, just before we move off of the Ravens, how concerned should you be if you're a Derrick Henry owner right now? I mean, like what happens? I mean, I guess they'll still they don't seem to have the line. And if Lamar's not there, that significantly changes what the defense is looking at. And you would think that the first thing that you want to do is stop Derrick Henry. Easier said than done. I mean, any concerns, or might this make him even more an integral and important part of this offense on a day-to-day basis? Yeah,
you nailed it right there. What you should see is them going back to giving him the ball 25 times a game, which they should be doing already. I would be concerned if Derrick Henry looked bad, but Derrick Henry looks amazing. Look at that first drive of the game versus Kansas City, versus one of the best run defenses in football. Derrick Henry carved them. Like, he was carving them the entire game, and they just decided we don't need to do that anymore, which has been a problem in the John Harbaugh era, going back to the Kansas City game where Gus Edwards was rushing for 6 yards a carry and they didn't give him the football. It's just a consistent problem. The problem with having Lamar Jackson is you want to use him constantly, even when everything is telling you run Derrick Henry, run Derrick Henry. The play action splits, Kansas City is one of the worst teams at defending against play action, and Baltimore is the top 2 or top 3 team in everything from EPA to point total off of play action in the league, and they went away from it. So makes no sense to me, but I'm not on the NFL sideline calling games, Huss. So I'm not worried about Derrick Henry if I have him in fantasy football. I want all the props for him. Yes, they're going to stack the box. Derrick Henry's dealt with that his entire career. And though Falele may not be able to pass pro better than I can, I definitely know that 360 pounds at 6'7" can push a pile forward. So I still like the idea to run. They get Houston, who gets absolutely chewed up against the run. So I'm definitely not overly concerned about Derrick Henry yet. If they're out of the running and they're out of the playoffs and he gets his 1,000 yards, and there's 3-4 games left to go, however, he's going to be kind of useless in the fantasy playoffs.
Thomas, let's talk about a couple rookies at the quarterback position. First impressions on Jackson Dart, who got a win and beat the Chargers. Big thanks to him and the Giants for that one. And then expectations for Justin Gabriel, who is now taking over for Joe Flacco, starting off in London against the Minnesota Vikings on the weekend. Start off with Dart.
Yeah, the thing with Jackson Dart is, like I said, his rushing. If you remember, there was only two other quarterbacks that I mentioned that really outrushed him over the last couple of years. Was Drake May, Jalen Milroe, and then, of course, Daniels. So 3. Other than that, and that played true. His running was unbelievable. The only problem I have with it is he got absolutely smacked a couple of times, and there's no way the Giants are going to continue to have that happen. But he did have 8. He already has 8 design runs. That's more than Drake May, who has 6. So I like what I'm seeing. Now there is a hamstring thing already. Just tough with these hamstrings. But I do think he has the same kind of rushing upside as a Josh Allen would, because they're going to need him to, especially now that Malik is gone, and same with Drake May. But the passing upside's not going to be there. So what makes it tough is he's probably going to realistically be a 16 to 17 point per game quarterback, hovering somewhere in that high-end QB2 range. I'm not trusting this Giants offense to really spark a lot, but I do like to see him playing. I think he's going to be a great fantasy option moving forward, but I'm interested to see how they use him going forward this season for fantasy. So I'm trusting him as like a high upside QB2.
So if you're in a 2 QB league, you can start him in your 2 hole.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. In a 1 QB league, I'm probably not playing. There are 9 quarterbacks right now averaging 20 plus fantasy points per game. Like, you really need that upside. And I think there's one sitting at 19.9 points per game and another at 19.7. Like, you really need that upper tier upside to really get there in a single quarterback league. So not really looking for that. But in a super flex 2 quarterback league, like you said, he is almost must start every week.
So what about Gabriel? He goes in. I mean, the Cleveland defense is legit. Their offense has been absolutely putrid. Can he spark this thing? I mean, do you have any expectations, and is there any fantasy value for him?
No. I think he's terrible. Not terrible in that he's worse than Flacco or anything like that, but we're talking about somebody that plays dink and dunk baseball, gets the ball out quick, very West Coast offense, which is fine in this system with Stefanski, but it is always hard for a rookie quarterback that does not run to come in and provide immediate value if they are not an elite passer. If you're not Justin Herbert, and remember, Justin Herbert was one of the more athletic quarterbacks coming out in the rookie draft. He was more athletic than Josh Allen in his draft class. So it is tough for somebody like that to come in. I'm not willing to buy it. I will say I do kind of like this for Jerry Jeudy, Harold Fannin, and Njoku. Again, the quick offense. But what this really signals to me is wheels up for my guy, Quinshon Judkins. They are going to absolutely feed this guy even more than they have. This guy is getting 80% of the touches plus per week, and he just joined the team a couple of weeks ago, Huss. So I'm all about Judkins. I will say keep an eye on Isaiah Bond. His usage has gone up every single week. The only problem is he's a bit of a field stretcher, and Gabriel does not have that arm talent to really utilize that. It'll be interesting to see how they use Bond, but if you play in a dynasty league, Bond is a must-roster type player at the back end of your benches, because I have to tell you, there's no chance the Cleveland Browns go into next season with Gabriel, Shador, and Flacco on the hopes of Deshaun Watson, who's statistically one of the worst quarterbacks in football since joining Cleveland, that they're going to walk into next year with these guys at quarterback. Something is going to change for them. It is a really good draft class, but knowing the Browns, they'll just draft Drew Aller in the 3rd round anyway and skip first-round quarterbacks and continue the carousel because it's the Browns.
Thomas Tipple's with us from fantasypoints.com. Check out Fantasy Points. It's the best research tool in the world. If you haven't already, you can use the promo code WST10 to sign up and dominate your league. Just on the way out, you mentioned Benson, you mentioned Bucky Irving. Who are some of the guys that may have been available in leagues that all of a sudden have major value based on these injuries that you rolled out?
Well, Michael Carter is somebody that really got decent draft capital. Remember, that was Javonte Williams' teammate back at North Carolina. He's somebody that a lot of people are picking up. The problem is the waiver wire is awful. When you're relying on some of these waiver wire type players. So definitely Michael Carter is somebody. Obviously, Kenny Gainwell is going to be off a lot of waiver wires, even though Jalen Warren is still kind of banged up. Someone I'm interested in, Sean Tucker, may be available in quite a few leagues. A lot of people are on the Rachaad White is going to run away with the job, but I could see them definitely splitting. Remember, Sean Tucker had that one incredible half against New Orleans, ended up putting over 20 points up on that one. I'm also kind of looking at a Justice Hill type scenario as well in Baltimore. Like you said, if they take Derrick Henry off the field for any reason and they have a check down happy quarterback like they do with Cooper Rush, he's definitely somebody that you want to roster. Braylon Allen did get nicked up, so Isaiah Davis is somebody that I am interested in. He's obviously more of the scat back, pass catching back, which we just hope they finally just let Breece Hall do his thing. But for some reason, the Jets hate Breece Hall the way I hate Greg Roman. It makes no sense to me. But he's definitely somebody that I am interested in as well as buying low on a guy like Braylon Allen. Granted, I don't think Braylon Allen is very good for a guy that big, that fast, that strong, built like an absolute tank. He looks like Derrick Henry 2.0. I feel like he runs softer than Sharman. So it's hard for me to see that elite workload coming for Braylon Allen, but he did get banged up. He might be cheap as hell. Somebody might even drop him in the case of some of these injuries. Christian Kirk is another guy, came in very good usage last week. He did, well, not very good usage, a 14.3% target share, only in on 63% of the team routes. However, he is somebody playing Baltimore this week. He's somebody that you want to pick up. I think that usage is going to uptick. And shout out my guy, Chris Godwin, who had just one fewer target, one fewer first read, and shared a 25% target share with Emeka Egbuka the first game coming back. Obviously, you want to see the drops get cleaned up and a little bit of the timing, but it's his first game back, tough surgery or something like tightrope. Very difficult to come back for something like that. So I am keeping my eyes locked in a couple of those guys coming off injury, ending up with injury, something I'm looking towards. Same with Kendre Miller. Kendre Miller kind of took off in the second half of that game. Alvin Kamara definitely seeing his usage on the down tick. Keep an eye out for somebody like Kendre Miller as well. Also, there are some rumblings, and I don't take a lot of stock into this, but there is a report that Alvin Kamara might be a little bit unhappy in this scenario, looking for a trade. And I got to tell you, Huss, the Kansas City Chiefs look like a prime destination for somebody like Alvin Kamara. Unfortunately, they do have a brutal, disgusting, horrendous running back committee there in Kansas City. Not sure how that would work. And speaking of the New Orleans Saints, pick up the Mormon missile. Taysom Hill coming back from injury. He is being designated to return. We obviously know that Sean Payton is not there. That is the one who loves Taysom Hill. Not sure if Taysom Hill has something on him from his personal life to make him love him that much, but Taysom Hill, very good fantasy option, often breaks fantasy football. I mean, hell, there's a chance Taysom Hill's the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints by the end of the year, and you can slide him into the tight end slot with dual designation. He's coming off injury. He should be free in most of your fantasy leagues.
Thomas, great stuff as always. All the best this week. And I do think the Ravens have some more for us to see. We'll just see whether Lamar can be in and be a part of that, because without 8, I'm not sure how many wins are going to be coming. Thanks again, pal, and keep up the great work over at fantasypoints.com. There's Thomas Tipple.
Happy to be here. Thanks, guys.
Good stuff. All right. We still have a few things to get to. Paying attention to this baseball game. Guardians, a bit of a breakout here in the bottom of the 8th, 3-1 right now. And I will say this, that was kind of mean of me, Reem, wasn't it? We were playing the LBJ spot as we came in, and as Thomas was there, I just held up the "How about those Chiefs" towel that I got at the game.
Yeah, he's got the Ravens jerseys in the background. Every time he comes on, people are commenting on all the things back there, the swords and the memorabilia. But yeah, you had to shove it in his face. But he seems to realize that the Ravens, quarterback's injured. I think half their starters are injured, and they're 1-3 right now. Like, they could miss the playoffs, and how you said it, as a season where everything just goes wrong and it's a lost season. Not looking great for a team that had Super Bowl aspirations coming in. Haven't been able to get over that hump in the playoffs yet to get to the big game.
Hey, listen, just before we get to the Coolbet Lines, and again, live racing tonight at Assiniboia Downs. I mean, this is such a gorgeous night. I'm actually going to be there. Looking forward to chowing down on that incredible prime rib buffet, taking my folks out there tonight. We'll get to the Coolbet Lines for the games a little later on. This has been another just amazing pitching duel right now. Yesterday, what a day that was to kick off Major League Baseball playoffs. I watched it pretty much from start to finish. The Yankees-Red Sox game, absolutely phenomenal. Aroldis Chapman loading the bases with no out in the 9th and then getting out of it without giving up a run. And then, I don't know, I mean, we've run out of superlatives for the greatness it is Shohei Ohtani, but I mean, leading off with a homer, hitting another one later on. Apparently he's got 7 homers of 450 feet plus at Dodger Stadium. Nobody else has more than 2 ever.
Yeah, he's good, and he also pitches to us, so he smoked.
Scheduled for Game 3 if they need it.
Yeah, he smoked that second homer, like, almost out of the stadium. It showed the fans in the crowd, like, their jaws were hanging open, could not in disbelief at how hard he hit that ball. So the Dodgers, they're looking to get back to the World Series. What a year they had last year, winning it all. And, first have to get past the Reds there, and had a huge lead and almost blew it. Well, they had the bases loaded and got out of it late. But so it's been on all day. We got the Cleveland-Detroit game on right now. Cleveland winning 3-1 in the bottom of the 8th. So this is an exciting. We're waiting to see who the Blue Jays are going to face. Is it going to be the Yankees or the Red Sox? As they're, they're having a inter-squad scrimmage today, open to fans in order to get ready for the division series.
Padres are up 1-0 on the Cubs right now. And then later on tonight, it's Bello for the Red Sox, Rodon for the Yankees. That's a 5 p.m. start, our time. And then the nightcap, 8 p.m. from Chavez Ravine. My favorite name in sports, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I don't know of anyone else with the initials YY going up against Littell for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Why? Yeah, I'm trying
why?
to
There was
think.
Zarly Zalapsky back in the old school for hockey. He had the coolest initials. Never come across a YY. But this Yamamoto, I was just looking at his game log. Strikeouts in his last 5 starts. 7, 7, 10, 10, 10. And it's been all about the strikeouts. I mean, yesterday, Terry Skubal had 14 strikeouts for the Tigers. And part of the reason why I'm really hoping the Yankees win tonight and actually win this series, from a Jays perspective, I don't want anything to do with Garrett Crochet. He was absolutely brilliant yesterday. 11 strikeouts in his big win for the Red Sox over the Yanks.
Yeah, I'm looking up like hockey players. There's been no YY initial player in in hockey. So, yeah, and Crochet, he had like 118 pitches. You know, these guys are letting it rip here in the playoffs. You do wonder, though, if he's going to have any after effects in round 2. Sometimes when you have that many pitches, you're not as sharp in the next one. I do enjoy what they had the post game on Sportsnet with Caleb Joseph, with Kenan and Ivanka, and Caleb Joseph mentioning that. So we'll have to wait and see who it is. You hope that they play a 3-game series, they burn all their pitchers. But the Yankees, the Red Sox, one of these great historic teams, will be out in the wild card round.
Yeah, no doubt about that. As I say, a big night. Oh, and I think Cleveland just put a bit of a dagger in. I think that's a 3-run bomb. So looks like we're going to get a game 3 at Progressive Field tomorrow, which is great. We can follow that throughout the game. If the Padres can win, they'll force a game 3 against the Cubs. It's up to the Yankees tonight to force a game 3 against the Red Sox. And tall task for the Cincinnati Reds to take on that gajillion-dollar Dodgers lineup, but that's the task for them. Find a way to get it to game 3 tomorrow. Let's head over and check out the Coolbet Lines for today. And here's what we're looking at for the MLB postseason later on. The Yankees minus 189 favorites tonight, and the Red Sox plus 158. I had a Red Sox Dodgers run line parlay last night at plus 347 that cashed. That was very nice. The exclusive cashed as well. Some great super boost these days over at Coolbet. Even the Dodgers run line is only minus 143. But if you're just looking for a 2-gamer, I'll roll Yankees and Dodgers. And again, that's plus 160. If you want, at one point this week, you can use that 30% multiplier. So maybe tonight's the night to use that over at Coolbet. I know there's an evening super boost, I believe, and I will get that up there after we get to it. What is it? The Judge with a hit and
Yes.
Yamamoto over, is it 4.5 strikeouts?
Yeah, it seems like a pretty good super boost if you ask me. I might get on that.
Yeah, I will. As I said, I took advantage of the one. Like, it's just awesome. I mean, it'll be a smaller, it won't be a huge max bet on that, but still, I mean, at even money seems like a bit of a no-brainer to sign up for. So there's your super boost. Patty's got a golf special for the Sanderson Farms. And then, the Europe's on fire. All the guys that were playing last week in the Dunhill, Fleetwood, Hatton, Fitz, and McIntyre, to get into the top 20. As far as exclusives for today, there's a couple boosts. Oh, what do we have here? NHL regular season Coolbet exclusives. Look at these, Remis. We'll dive into some of these. By the way, this is a nice plug. Additional content coming. We'll probably drop our first one on the weekend. Myself, Pat, and Jake, NHL Future Special. And then we'll have another WST Winners episode with myself, Remis, and Connor. And we'll have our favorite NHL plays, but we'll also focus in on the Jets. It'll sort of be our Jets preview with some over-unders on point totals for the team, points as well for the team. And all the NHL exclusives are up right now. But yes, 5 or more Canadian teams to make the playoffs at minus 110. 6 Canadian teams is 3-1. All 7 Canadian teams to make the playoffs, 30-1. That's probably tough. We've got some McDavid props as well. Kyle Connor. How about this? Kyle Connor for 100 points plus 525. And Kyle Connor to score 50, 17-1. Just out of principle, I think I might have to put a little sprinkle on that for our guy KFC.
He's been close.
He's at 47.
Yeah, and, he didn't really score on the power play last year, and you wonder if that's coming eventually. You think that a guy like Kyle Connor would be able to get some power play goals. The amount of time that he's out there, he had 41 last year in 82. His high is 47 in 21, 22. He's had 34 and 31. Although he had 34 and 65 games. Sorry, in 23, 24. So he's certainly capable of it if things go the right way. And if you want to have a fun bet or something to cheer for, sure, throw a couple bucks at 17 to 1. I might do that just for fun. I kind of agree.
Great time to check out the NFL futures as well. I was saying to Remis, I had a couple nice wins in the baseball last night. So I placed a Chiefs Super Bowl bet at 10 to 1. I can't remember the last time the Chiefs were more than single digits. They're 10 to 1. The Bills are still 4 to 1 is the big favorite. Like the Ravens are still 9 to 1. That's a pass. But Chiefs and Detroit's intriguing to me too at 10 to 1 right now. Josh Allen's the favorite for MVP at minus 110. Herbert at plus 550. Mahomes plus 650. May have put a little sprinkle on Mahomes again last night. And then the divisions are all up right now to win the NFC, to win the AFC. And we've got some odds for Offensive Player of the Year. Puka Nacua at 3 to 1. Looking pretty darn good right now. He has just been absolutely incredible. The awards up right now, passing. So if you do like futures, before Thursday night, jump on into some of these. Emeka Egbuka from the Bucks looks like he's the favorite for the Offensive Rookie of the Year, which is interesting because Ashton Jeanty had such a big game last week, but he's been doing it all along. Marion Hampton at 5 to 1. And my guy, Tyler Warren with the Colts, 12 to 1. He's had a great start to the season. One other thing I want to get to is the CFL. Here are your lines right now. Saskatchewan's 3.5-point favorites in Ottawa. Hamilton, 1.5-point favorites in Toronto. And BC's a 3.5-point favorite at home against the Calgary Stampeders. But as I said on Monday, it kind of feels like we just saw the Bombers announcing that they were back just in time for the stretch of the playoffs. We saw the CFL saying they're the most likely team to win the Cup based on whatever numbers they were crunching. The Bombers are still the 6th longest odds to win the Grey Cup, and significantly longer, more than double than everybody else. Just saying, this is the team that knows a thing or two about the playoffs. They'll have something to prove. They want to get it back. They want to be in the game at home and, of course, change the result of the last 3. Bombers, 12 to 1. I thought after that game it would be like 7 or 8 to 1, like they'd be with the rest of those teams. This number doesn't make sense, but I'm more than happy to bet it. Bombers 12 to 1 right now to win the Grey Cup. All of it's waiting for you at coolbet.com. Use the promo code WST if you haven't before, and we'll double your first bonus or your first deposit up to $200 with the promo code WST. And again, October 22nd, the next day for our Wednesday night poker with Winnipeg Sports Talk. So mark that down on the calendar. 3 weeks today, we'll get back at it for our next poker event with Winnipeg Sports Talk.
I just saw Adam Schefter just reporting now. Purdy, Pearsall, Jennings are out Thursday versus the Rams. So I don't know if they adjusted.
Whoa, what's the line on that one?
It's not
off
even
the board.
There.
It is off the board. Sorry, say that again. Purdy, Pearsall,
Jennings are all out Thursday versus the Rams.
I almost feel like changing my survivor pick to LA.
Yes, I haven't submitted mine either, and maybe I should do LA now. I don't like Thursday night games, but they're missing some dudes there.
That is big time. Vikings 4-point favorites in London against Cleveland. For those of you that are wondering, who do we got? Oh, Chiefs got the Monday nighter next week against the Jags. They're 3.5-point favorites. Patriots Bills in Buffalo on Sunday night. By the way, I'll just repeat this take earlier. I think I gave it to you off air, and I certainly dropped it on the lock shop. And again, I'm a little hyped up about what we saw in that big game, Kansas City, Baltimore. Felt like they needed that for their season. But I don't get how the Bills are just being given the AFC right now. They're 4 to 1 to win the Super Bowl right now. Check and see who they've played so far this year. I mean, they almost lost to Baltimore, and Baltimore has proven themselves to be a very flawed team. Like, I don't know about that defense. And the records, they're 4-0, which, listen, you can only beat the teams that are on your schedule. But those 4 teams that they've beaten are 2-14 combined. So I think the Bills are overvalued right now, and I think there's a couple teams on the, a little down, right in and around the Chiefs, Detroit as well, that are some pretty good value on the futures numbers. So check those out at Coolbet whenever you have a chance. Friday, 10 a.m., we'll get back into the lab with Pat and Jake with WST winners for Week 5 in the National Football League. Remo, we got a big day at the track tonight. We're down to the last few days of live racing at Assiniboia Downs, and you've still got a little bit of catching up to do on yours truly.
Yeah, you've had some big winners. I've had some winners as well, some big days, but the time is running out. Got to hit something here if I want to get the victory this season.
Yeah, no doubt. How are your picks looking for tonight? Now we're probably going to double up, but let's just focus on what we do normally, and if you want to add after the show or whatever,
sure,
we'll throw it down.
So I did a lot of exactas, and then I also did like a separate $2 win bet on these, and I did a trifecta, and then also did a separate bet on the winner. So I'll just give you the first ones that I did, and I also have separate bets on the winner. So I did 40 total, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, sorry, 4, 5, 6, 7 were my main ones. You want me to just go roll through those?
Yeah. Roll with those here, just while I add a couple more onto my card.
So race 4, I have a trifecta: 1, 2, 6, Bossy, Holiday, Cajun, Eddie, and Labrat. And I do have a separate one on Labrat to win, the heavy favorite there, which we've won on a couple times this year. It was big favorite. Race 5, I've got a 1-8 exacta box. He Knows We Know, and Brinson. And then I also have race 6 exacta box, 1-2, Sum It Up, and Sophia's Storm. That's the program selection AI smart pick. And race 7, I've got another exacta box, 3-4, Del Vecchio, and It's a Fluke again. Program and AI, and I think I have a separate one on Del Vecchio to win. So we'll see what happens. Maybe I can win a couple of these. If I don't hit the box, I hit the winner. But if I do hit the box, maybe I can get in a little extra there if I hit the winner. And
yeah,
I think
no doubt.
I have some other winners in race 1 or 4. I don't know. I'm
gonna do those bets live. I'm looking at race 5. I'm trying to see how to get away from these, from the picks, from the AI picks. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go with Brinson. What is He Knows We Know? Actually, we're going to stay away from He Knows We Know. Conspiracy Theorist. So we're going to go 4, 8, 9 in this one. 4, 8, and 9. So that's a $6 bet. And then I'm going to also bet number 9 to win. Silver Creek Kid. We'll throw a toonie on that. And then I do have my race 6 and 7 triactor boxes in. So my other two, race 6, I'm going 1, 4, 6. That is Sum It Up, Distinctive Deb, and Cumberland Falls. And then in race number 7, which I'll probably get back home and watch the final race, 3, 4, 6. We're going to go Del Vecchio, a favorite of ours. It's a Fluke. And I don't understand why this Inano Caro is like 20-1 and only 6-1. It won their last race at 6 furlongs. So anyways, I'm bumping out number 1. I'm adding 6, so 3, 4, 6 for that one. 7:30 post time tonight. Free parking, free admission. Check out their Instagram or asdowns.com for more information for you ladies. Want to go out for ladies' night? I think they got $150 for the nicest hat and some other fun stuff that I think you'll like. And it should be a really gorgeous night to be outside at Assiniboia Downs tonight without much else going on other than playoff baseball. Tomorrow, Remo, another big show. And I guess the first things first, we'll wait with bated breath on an update on Jonathan Toews after leaving last night's game in the Twin Cities.
Man, hopefully he's not out long term. What a blow that would be if he were to miss the home opener, which we're all planning on attending, and we're expecting to hear a big ovation for him and his return to the NHL. Hopefully it's nothing, just very precautionary. We will wait and see after tomorrow's practice.
You got it. All right. Obviously, somebody just grabbed 3 seats. So I'm just checking. If you want to join us in our section 316 for the home opener, we are down to only 4 tickets. So there are 4 seats remaining. We had so much fun in the section last year. If you're thinking about going to the home opener, these tickets all also include a beverage of your choice on your Jets 360 app. So jump on those, gang. Get those final 4 tickets before they're gone, because we're not getting any more, unfortunately. So this is going to be it. Looking forward to seeing you all there for the home opener coming up a week tomorrow against the Dallas Stars. Who's on the show tomorrow? Ken?
Ken is on, so we'll talk the Toews injury update with him. David Pagnot of the Fourth Period on all the contracts being signed. So lots going on in the NHL offseason.
When is Ribwicki on this week?
I just texted him. I'm waiting to hear back. Maybe Friday, if it works out for him.
I have to say, Royal Sports, what's the link for the home opener again? WinnipegJets.com/WST. And you'll click on it. There's the 6 games, but obviously the home opener is the game that we're focusing on. And as of right now, live 3:21 p.m., there was 4 seats left for the game. Brown Eye Girl MJD, are we going to be better luck this year? We were 6-0 last year, MJD. Undefeated. Now, the first 3 games of the WST pack the year before were losses. And then we went into the Calgary game, that final game of the season. It was the referendum game. If the Jets did not win and we went 0-4, we said we wouldn't be able to do it next year. But they won. They came through and then won every game last season. So let's keep it rolling, including the home opener against the Dallas Stars. And of course, you can also get ahead. We've got the Ehlers return on Friday, November 21st, which is going to be a real fun one. Friday night, Jan 9 against the Kings. It's the après-ski night, which is going to be a fun one. And they're giving away ski goggles, I think, to the first 5,000 fans. You can see there the Habs game, Wednesday, February 4th against Montreal. Last game before the break for the Olympics. And then 2 big games down the stretch. Thursday, March 5th against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And Saturday, April 11th against the Philadelphia Flyers. That is going to do it for us, folks. Go watch some baseball this afternoon. Get out to the track tonight. And we'll be back with the latest on the Winnipeg Jets. Update from practice. Update, hopefully, on Jonathan Toews. And much more on tomorrow's show. Thanks again to Thomas Tipple. Thank you to Murat and John Matisz, who joined us. We haven't heard anything on any big trades involving the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, so we can touch on that tomorrow, kind of landscape of the CFL post-trade deadline as well in the program. And hey, if you missed it yesterday, brand new CFL 110 is up. Check that out. And a great analytics primer. Really, really great piece from Connor and Liss explaining some of the stuff that a lot of fans might want to know about but had been afraid to ask. It's all up on the Winnipeg Sports Talk YouTube channel right now. Thanks again to all of our sponsors. Welcome aboard our friends at Chud's Power Sports. Great to have you with us. Stay tuned for our first power poll with Chud's Power Sports in the next couple days. And for Michael Remis, I'm Andrew Paterson. Have yourself a great night. Enjoy the weather. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.